The badge system was revoked this morning. My access died mid-shift. The door behind me locked and did not reopen. Security did not escort me out. That made it worse. When I tried to log back in, the terminal showed my name in gray, not red. Gray means inactive without cause. I stood there long enough for the line to form. People recognized me. Some avoided eye contact. Others stared like I had already been replaced. The supervisor on duty said nothing and kept counting inventory as if I was not there. My phone buzzed once. Payroll canceled the pending transfer. The timestamp was 5 minutes earlier. Whatever happened had already propagated. I left through the side exit because the main gate requires a live badge. Outside, my company parking permit failed at the barrier. The car stayed trapped. I had to walk. Halfway down the block, my work email finished syncing. 37 unread messages disappeared in real time. A second later, the mailbox collapsed into a single auto-response stating my address no longer exists. No explanation. No contact. I assumed it was an error. A system sweep. A mistake that would correct itself if I reached the right person. That assumption lasted until the benefits app logged me out and refused re-entry. Coverage ended at midnight yesterday. The first real consequence landed when the bank called. A compliance review flagged my account. The caller used careful words and asked if I was still employed. I said yes because there was no official notice saying otherwise. She paused, then placed me on hold. While waiting, I checked the internal directory from a personal device. My profile was gone. Not hidden. Removed. The team page showed a vacancy where my name used to be, already marked as urgent. The call came back. The bank froze outbound transfers until verification. Rent was due tomorrow. My landlord accepts nothing late. That rule is in writing. I headed back toward the building to talk to someone in person. The lobby scanners ignored my face. A new guard stepped in front of me and asked for identification I could not produce. He wasn't rude. He just followed instructions that had been updated without me. Behind him, the elevators kept moving. People went up to jobs that now required my absence. I stepped aside to think and noticed my phone vibrating again. This time it was HR, not calling, just a system notice. It said a meeting had been scheduled retroactively for yesterday afternoon and marked as missed. Below that, another notification loaded. It showed a compliance hold expanding to linked accounts. The circle kept spinning as if there was more to come. By noon, the freeze spread. My credit card failed at a grocery register even though the balance was low and current. The clerk tried twice, then slid the card back without meeting my eyes. The receipt showed a code I had never seen. I walked to the branch because phone queues looped. The manager pulled my profile and frowned at the screen. She said the review was procedural and usually cleared in 48 hours. She said if my employer confirmed active status, the holds would lift faster. She printed a form and circled an email address. That looked like a path. I forwarded the form to the HR address on my offer letter. An auto reply came back instantly. The mailbox was unmonitored. A second message bounced. The domain no longer accepted mail. I went back to the building again, aiming for facilities this time. Someone there still knew me. At the desk, a technician checked the ticketing system and said my name triggered a lock. He suggested waiting for the scheduled HR meeting. He said those things resolve cleanly once the meeting happens. That sounded reasonable. The calendar showed the meeting as rescheduled for tomorrow morning. It included a video link. The invite listed a case number instead of a topic. No one else was named. While I waited, the compliance hold widened. My savings account flagged due to linkage. A notice warned of temporary limits on cash withdrawals. The language emphasized prevention, not punishment. It implied patience would be rewarded. I told myself the same thing. If I stayed still, the system would settle. I stopped moving money. I canceled errands. I sat in a cafe and waited for the meeting to make sense of it. At 3, my landlord emailed a reminder. At 4, the payment portal rejected my login. Support said the account showed a risk marker and required verification from my employer. They offered a grace period if documentation arrived before midnight. I forwarded the calendar invite as proof. Support replied that calendar metadata did not count as verification. They needed a live contact. The false comm lasted until evening. A courier knocked and handed me a thin envelope. Inside was a notice of service interruption from my phone carrier. The reason cited a third-party compliance request. Restoration required confirmation of employment. I opened the benefits app again. It now displayed a countdown. Coverage lapsed retroactively and would not reinstate without an active payroll ID. The meeting tomorrow was still there, unchanged, like a promise. At dusk, another alert arrived. The compliance hold escalated to reviewed. The status changed color. The spinning circle stopped. The meeting did not happen. At 9 sharp, the video link opened to a holding screen. No audio. No host. A banner at the top read "Case closed." The calendar invite vanished while I was still looking at it. Immediately after, the bank app updated. The review concluded. Access remained restricted pending external confirmation that would no longer be accepted. A note stated the decision was final unless new data entered the system. No path to submit data was provided. I tried the branch again. The manager recognized me and looked relieved to see a familiar face. She checked the screen and stepped back. Her tone changed. She said the account was no longer under her authority. She said the system showed a regulatory classification, not a review. She could not override it. Outside, my phone lost service. No warning this time, just a dead indicator. I connected to public Wi-Fi and saw a backlog of messages land all at once, then freeze. The carrier portal showed termination completed. The date matched the retroactive HR meeting. I assumed the damage was financial. I was wrong. An email from building management arrived, sent to my personal address. It stated my apartment access would be disabled at midnight due to a failed verification request tied to the lease guarantor. The guarantor was my employer. I went home early to secure what I could. The elevator key still worked, but the system lagged before accepting it. Inside the unit, the smart panel glowed yellow instead of green. A warning icon pulsed and then dimmed. I packed documents. Physical ones. Old habits. Halfway through, the door chimed. Not a knock. A system tone. The panel announced a scheduled audit of connected devices. I canceled it. The cancellation failed and rescheduled itself for 15 minutes later. I realized then the rules had shifted. This wasn't about being fired. It was about being undefined. Every system that relied on employment as a binary input was resolving the ambiguity the same way. I tried to create proof from the outside. I requested employment verification from a third-party service. The response came back instantly. Employer not found. Entity inactive. Another alert hit. My professional license portal flagged my status for review due to loss of sponsoring organization. The deadline to respond was 24 hours. Response required a sponsor. I sat on the floor and watched the device audit start itself. One by one, connections dropped. Lights dimmed. Climate shut off. The panel displayed a single line. User association removed. Then it asked me to confirm departure time. Midnight did not evict me, it stalled me. The door stayed locked, but the system logged my presence as temporary. A notice appeared offering a transition window if I confirmed a departure plan. It listed shelters, short-term storage, and a moving service that billed to an employer account that no longer existed. That looked like mercy. It wasn't. I clicked to see details, and the panel required acknowledgement that I was no longer a resident. Declining shortened the window. Accepting started it. I closed the panel, and the countdown shrank anyway. I tried a different angle. Legal aid. Intake was automated. The form asked for employment status. I left it blank. The submit button stayed gray. When I selected seeking work, the form advanced and immediately rerouted me to a housing displacement queue with a 5-day delay. 5 days was too long. At the leasing office, a night manager answered through glass. She said corporate handled access flags. She said corporate needed verification. I showed her emails, notices, screenshots. She nodded and said she believed me. Belief did nothing. Her system showed a compliance lock and a scheduled unit audit at dawn. She suggested I wait until morning when someone higher could intervene. That suggestion became the second chance. Morning meant phones. Morning meant offices. Morning meant people who could decide. I carried that idea upstairs like something fragile and tried not to breathe on it. At 2, the panel chimed again. The audit advanced. It now included asset reconciliation. It asked me to identify personal property versus leased devices. I skipped it. The skip triggered a warning about assumed abandonment. I messaged former teammates from an old backup list. One replied with a single line, "I can't get involved." Another sent nothing but an out-of-office set to permanent. At 4, a new email arrived from a compliance address I had not seen before. It offered a resolution. Voluntary separation documentation would restore limited access for 72 hours. Enough time to move. Enough time to pay rent elsewhere. Enough time to leave quietly. I opened the attachment. It required my signature and an acknowledgement of cause. The cause field was pre-filled with a code, not words. I hovered over the button while the countdown paused, as if waiting for my hand. Then the message revoked itself. The sender changed to archived. The offer expired due to inactivity measured from an hour earlier. The panel lit read, "The audit completed. The system scheduled enforcement at sunrise." Outside, sirens passed and faded. Inside, the air went still. The screen asked me again to confirm departure time, and this time it filled one in for me. At sunrise, I signed nothing. I did one thing instead. I used the public terminal in the lobby before it locked me out. Guest access was still live. I filed a single report through the regulator's intake, not as an employee, not as a tenant, not as a customer. I filed it as a data subject asserting automated exclusion without notice. I attached every timestamp, every retroactive change, every vanished meeting. Then I submitted it and walked away from the screen. The lock engaged behind me. The door did not open again. By noon, the response arrived. Not approval, not denial, an acknowledgement number. It froze all enforcement actions tied to the case while under review. The systems did not reverse. They stopped. That pause cost me immediately. The landlord charged a compliance fee for the delay. The bank converted the freeze into a managed account with withdrawal limits. My phone stayed dead. The apartment stayed inaccessible. Nothing came back. I sat on a bench with my bag and watched people move through a day that no longer included me. Hours later, an email landed on a borrowed device. It confirmed receipt and warned that resolution could take months. During that time, automated decisions would remain suspended but not restored. I had space. I had no standing. When night came, I slept where I was. The city cleaned around me. No alerts fired. No screens asked for confirmation. The systems had lost their grip, but they had taken their share. I checked the acknowledgement once more before the battery died. My name was spelled correctly. Everything else was blank.